Good morning.
Good morning.
I would like to call to order the Dania Beach Community Redevelopment Agency special meeting for our executive director interviews. It's Tuesday, October 3rd, 10 a.m. Call the roll, please.
Chairman James.
Here.
Vice Chairman Harris.
Here.
Board Member Brandemart.
Here.
Board Member Grace.
Here.
Board Member Salvino.
Here.
City Attorney Ansbro.
Here.
Thank you.
I guess we'll start with our interviews. Is Raquel here?
Yes, Raquel is here. I just wanted to take a moment to talk to you all about what's in front of you. When we met with Board Member Grace, we talked about coming up with some recommended questions. So what you have in front of you are some questions that were developed by the CRA and Human Resources. However, if you do not want to use those questions, of course, I can't compel you to. That would be up to you. But I do want to just take a moment to kind of talk a little bit about them. When you're doing a recruitment process, it's always, if possible, best to offer each candidate an equal opportunity to discuss their qualifications. And that is why we have these questions. The idea is if you ask basic questions of each candidate is presented an equal opportunity. And of course, follow-up questions would vary because answers are going to vary. So that is why I do give those recommended questions. Again, you are the hiring board, so you can, choose to do what you will. If you do utilize those questions, there are 10. If you all would like to take turns asking questions, people tend to respond differently to different people. So sometimes you can gain some insight into the candidate that way. So those are why those questions are provided.
Board Member Grace?
Yes, we did talk about this at the last meeting. However, we also talked about giving this board the opportunity to ask their own questions, and I think that I favor that better than I do us being repetitious, asking the same question. It almost brings back when I was first running for office in 1989, that we just piggybacked on whatever the first person said. So I think that this board is intelligent enough to make their own observations and their own questions, and probably we might be able to use some of the stuff that you implemented at the same time.
Okay, sounds great. We just wanted to give you those if you were interested. And then the last thing I would say is just, obviously, and as you indicated, board member, you all know how to do this. So there are no such thing as illegal questions. There's just questions that make us do illegal things. So if anyone has any questions regarding something you can or cannot ask, does anyone have any questions regarding that? Or that you should or should not ask?
I think we know the protocol. We should
Right.
know it.
I mean, yeah. Okay.
We've been
Hold
through
on.
enough.
And I will be I will be greeting all the candidates and bringing them in when you all are ready for
Okay,
them.
1 second. Board Member Salvino?
I just have a question. What is, number 2, what is Chapter 163, Part 1?
Actually, Kathleen was going to come up and talk to you about what that is and why it's important. So, any other questions of
Yes.
me?
Board-
Mine was the same.
Okay.
Okay, great. Thank you all.
Good morning, CRA board members. Yes, I was going to speak to you about that question number 2. Chapter 163, Part 3 of the Florida statutes is the statute that created CRA. And while it was created by the state, this Chapter 163, Part 3 really relates to city and counties developing CRA. We put this in because your director should have a knowledge of what this does, and it's very simple. It allows the CRA to function as a separate agency within the city to eliminate slum and blighted conditions. But the CRA also gets the opportunity to have certain types of investments that the city can't do. For instance, the public-private partnership for the RFQ, that fell right into, the realm of doing it through a CRA. So we put this in so that your director would be able to speak to some of these opportunities that the CRA is in a position to do as a separate agency. The other thing about the CRA is that once you develop your CRA, you develop a CRA plan. And in that, you put as much information as possible in the plan to be able to implement the development that you want. So what's in the plan could be done, what's not in the plan cannot be done. And there's usually a lifespan for the CRA. I believe ours is about 40 years. And within that period of time, the CRA would be in a position to do developmental projects for you, the CRA board. And you function as the CRA board and the city commissioners, and a number of cities have the same type of arrangement that have CRAs. Now, one of the most important things that they'll probably talk about is the fact that the CRA allows tax increment financing, TIF. Now, we are not a TIF CRA, but the city has created a trust fund for us to function as a CRA here in the city. So this question is in here simply for you to get a sense of how much the director knows about CRAs. But that does not mean that they can't learn along the way. But, you know, as a director of a CRA, you should know the history of how CRAs are created and what we are here to do.
Board Member Brandon Marty.
Yes, to the city attorney. So I want to understand that this was created by the state so that the CRA can be separate from the city, even though the money is taken to pay for the CRA through the general fund,
That's correct. They have to be separate legal entities.
even though we are,
Even though you pour-
period, in
you
every
pour over
sense
the
of the
money.
word. The money comes from us, the board is the same. I wanted to be sure that I was correct on that. Thank you.
You are, yeah.
Okay, thank you. The other point that I just want to ask you, as I have you all together, you may have seen the email about Brad Muckley not being able to come to today's interview. He asked if he can be interviewed during the week of October 9th. And so we needed to know from you if you want to, if you're able to attend a meeting either on the morning of October 9th, or if you want to do an hour before. I think I sent a note asking if you want to do an hour before the CRA meeting, which would be 5 o'clock.
No,
I
don't want to do
I
that.
I
have
can't do it either.
meeting at 2,
Okay.
and then we have CRA at 6, and then
Yeah,
we
no.
have city commission at 7, and if we do another hour, that means I'll be here all day.
Yeah.
So maybe we want to do it on
Right.
the 9th.
The 9th, we were looking at possibly 10 a.m.
I'll have to look at my schedule.
Why isn't he not
That's
here
okay with
today?
me.
The 9th is a Monday.
Why is he not here today?
Oh, he said that he has a training program which is being paid for by his employer. And when he made the commitment to us, I guess he didn't notice that his schedule required that he be at that training program today.
Okay, well, somebody's applying for a job, to me,
Yeah,
he should have been
That would be
here.
a priority.
That's just my opinion, but
I'll get back to you on the 9th.
Okay, so, all right, so we'll work together and decide on that Monday.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I'll go, same with her. I'm okay for Monday at 10 a.m., but I'll go with whatever the majority wants.
All right, thank
They
you.
may have a meeting or something. All right.
this Monday?
No, we're not doing it yet. We're going to get back to her.
No.
That's what the mayor said.
Well, no, I'm just gonna see if I can make it. If I can make it, I'll be here.
Agree. That's what I meant.
So,
That's exactly what I meant.
what is her
Who's
name?
that? That's a girl.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm big on names. I don't want to butcher your name, so if you
Good
can introduce
morning.
yourself.
Raquel Williams.
Raquel.
Raquel. Okay.
Raquel.
All right, you can start. You've been provided 2 minutes to introduce yourself and discuss your background and reasons that you're applying for this job.
Well, first I want to say thank you for the opportunity to come before you today. I am a community development professional that has been working in the public sector for about 4 years. And prior to that, I was in the private sector working in the construction and communications industries. I have a focus on community and economic development with particular interest in capital improvement projects, affordable housing development, economic development, and public facilities and infrastructure development. My educational background includes a Master of Public Administration from Florida International University, as well as a graduate certificate in community development, also from FIU. I was one of the first members of the cohort for community scholars in affordable housing at the University of Miami. And I have several industry certifications that would be relevant for this position, including the Project Management Professional Certification, Lead Accredited Professional for Neighborhood Development, and I'm also a licensed real estate associate with REO training. Prior to working where I'm currently working at Miami-Dade County, I was at the City of Miami Gardens doing capital improvement projects, where we embarked on a $60 million general obligation bond, which I was the lead administrator for. For the first, let's say, 3 months of the bond, we had a director at that time, and the director parted ways with the city, and I was essentially left to lead the city in that bond administration program. I'm currently at Miami-Dade County working for the Economic Advocacy Trust, where I handle all economic development initiatives, including our housing assistance program, which is a documentary surtax funded program, as well as several economic development initiatives throughout the county, particularly in the targeted urban area.
Okay, good. Well, we're going to get right into it and open it up for questions if you guys have questions. Oh. All right. What is your impression on Dania Beach, when you think of it?
Well, over the weekend, I took the opportunity to ride through all of the sub-areas of the CRA and the larger city. And my first impression is that Dania Beach is very charming. There's sort of a small town feel, but there's a lot of growth opportunity. And I think that the city is poised for further redevelopment. I couldn't help but notice the Dania Point development project that is currently underway, and I just see a lot of potential for Dania Beach. I see a city that is very diverse, and I think that is indicated on our board here today. I see a variety of housing stock that could use improvement in some areas. I do see the business sectors. I see the marine-related industries. I really got a chance to kind of take it all in while I was riding around, and I do see a lot of potential for further development.
Okay. Board Member Grace?
Good morning.
Good morning.
What do you think you can offer as the director of the CRA for the city of Dania Beach to bring us full force? We have done some major projects since 2008 to get us to this point. And are you able to write or grants? Are you able to reach out to certain entities to make sure that Dania is not left out of the loop of the grants?
Absolutely. I do think that is something that I could bring to the table if offered this position. One of the things that I noticed is that the budget for the CRA has remained flat for the past 3 or 4 years, with the exception of fiscal year 17-18 with a $200,000 increase, which I'm not sure if that indicates identification of alternative resources or more prominence with the importance of CRA initiatives and activities. But I definitely think that based on what is outlined in the CRA plan, Dania Beach will need to seek outside funding sources and leverage the resources that are available. I was able to, at the City of Miami Gardens, get a technical assistance grant from the National Resource Network, which was an initiative out of the Obama administration Strong Cities, Strong Communities initiative and funded through HUD. I was also able to garner grant funding from the Miami Dolphins for public facilities, as well as LISC for public facilities improvement.
Thank you.
Talk about, were those some of your biggest accomplishments?
Yes, I would say those were some of the biggest accomplishments, but I think my major accomplishment in that role was the development of the Every Home program, which addressed slum and blight and targeted neighborhood revitalization. by incorporating beautification, which is a grant program for homeowners to improve the facade of their property, as well as landscaping, painting, irrigation systems, as well as Neighbors First portion of the program, whereas if there are vacant or dilapidated lots that are city-owned, that someone at the neighboring home would like to purchase and rehab or manage and maintain, they would have that opportunity, as well as utilizing the city's ability to administer foreclosures on homes that have well exceeded the lien process and are in disrepair. I think that was one of my biggest accomplishments in that role.
Okay, being as though we are a TIFLIS CRA, how does this change the way you approach you bringing redevelopment to this area?
I think Dania Beach is unique in that the CRA is totally funded through the general fund. I think that is not something that is a negative but a positive, because that reflects a community-wide investment in the CRA area. I think that it does pose a challenge because there are certain private development opportunities that may seem unattainable because TIF is not a part of the budgeted calculation. However, I think that a strong approach with communication and community involvement, reaching out to the private sector, enhancing existing businesses that are here, I think that will go a long way toward redevelopment in the city regardless of the funding source.
Board Member Grace.
We are currently trying to implement a streetscape for a downtown area. Have you had any dealings with streetscape for improvement of major corridors in Miami Gardens or the city of Miami, or can you kind of elaborate on that?
Sure. At the city of Miami Gardens, I was an assistant in the effort to create an entertainment overlay district on the 27th Avenue corridor between the Palmetto Expressway and the Turnpike. And what that did was enable different land uses to be accessible to developers so that there could be restaurants, entertainment venues, mixed-use housing development, mixed-income housing development. And so that was put in place in order to spur development. And since then, developers have been chomping at the bit to be a part of that development process along that corridor. So yes, I've been a part of developing the downtown area. We once had a flea market, and that is now demolished, and they're rebuilding with a Ross, a TJ Maxx, a Wawa convenience store, and just being able to market and sell the city. I think that was a bit of a challenge because the city of Miami Gardens, it doesn't always come across as an environment or a neighborhood that would be suitable for redevelopment. But really, based on the income levels of the residents, several different companies found it viable for them to want to come in there and do business.
Board Member Savino.
Yes, thank you. Speaking of entertainments and so on, I'll just get off the subject of development a little bit. We have successfully had a couple of nice events, which possibly the possibility of more coming. We host a vintage motorcycle show, and we also, the CRA was not, but that was kind of an outsource. That's where I'm going to get to on this point. The CRA worked with RMA to, as another outsourced company that works with the CRA to develop and produce our seafood festival, Arts and Seafood Festival. Both are very successful. Have you ever had any type of, to be able to create these events so that they bring people to our CRA districts and throughout the city of Dania Beach? These events that we hold help bring in, I'm guessing, 20 to 30,000 people. So do you have any experience with that, and outsourcing events? If we were to say to you, we have a seafood festival come up, could you outsource that without costing the CRA money and productively put that program on?
Well, in my current role at Miami-Dade County, I I work primarily in the targeted urban areas, and one of the major events that comes to Miami during December is Art Basel. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, but it's an international art festival and celebration. And so what we've done is we've partnered with the City of Miami CRA to put together what's called Soul Basel, which really highlights African American art and music and entertainment. And so we've been able to work with the CRA to create a positive atmosphere where everyone feels included in the Art Basel scene, but doesn't necessarily have to go to the City of Miami Beach to experience that. Also, one of the marquee events at the City of Miami Gardens while I was there, and still now, is Jazz in the Gardens. And that event has grown substantially. I want to say it's in its 11th year now. We were able to outsource portions of the event planning, not completely, because the city wanted to maintain ownership of the event. There were talks to completely go with AEG Live to manage the event, but that didn't go in that direction. So I can't say that I've helped to outsource an event in its entirety, but I do think that's something that I could foreseeably do for the city of Dania Beach if necessary and if within the parameters of the budget and the scope of what the CRA wants to do.
Thank you.
Board Member Brandon Marty.
Yes, hello, Ms. Williams, thank you for coming. You've already answered the question on that you are aware of how the CRA is funded through the general fund. My question to you is more of an opinion. Do you think we should set up a city TIF?
I think that could be explored. I don't see any harm in exploring that and weighing the pros and cons. I think the finding of necessity that was done for Dania Beach, I think it was 2004 that was undertaken. I think that perhaps there are some changes in the climate of the city that would make a TIF funding situation more advantageous for the city, but I would be open to exploring either option.
Vice Chair.
That's what I want to know.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
AIPP, before being in office, I was on the Creative Arts Council for several years, and it's always seemed like they were spinning their wheels trying to get some projects. Although they have very good ideas, how would we energize our art in public places and get partnerships and get some art and some sculpture and some murals in the city so we can compete with artists like they have in Wynwood, Hollywood, Fort Lauderdale, because here it's pretty much non-existent because it's not been funded and it's not been looked at favorably for art projects. What would you do?
Well, I would first have to look at your existing resolutions and ordinances related to art in public places. The more successful programs are funded as a requirement. So any Dania Beach funded project would have to have 10% allocated for art in public places or whatever percentage that would be agreeable. So that's definitely one way. I think the major artists, there's so much competition for major artists, so there would have to be a financial incentive for them. And there would also have to be some consideration of the placement of the artwork. So essentially, if we're doing a project that is on a small scale and maybe won't get as much exposure, I don't think that the larger artists are going to be attracted to that. So we'd have to kind of gauge our expectations based on the type of project and the placement of the project and look at a definitive funding source for art in public places. But on another note, I think that there's so many artists that are seeking notoriety that would love to volunteer to submit artwork. And just developing a process for that, a selection mechanism. Maybe there's an Art in Public Places Committee that would look at solicited artwork from various folks at no cost.
Okay. What do you think about a mural program?
Can you elaborate on that?
Driving through the city of Hollywood, you'll see murals on private buildings, parking garage, and they pretty much energized it like they have in Wynwood. What do you think about driving down Federal Highway in Dania Beach and seeing some art, some color, and some murals and some lighting.
I think that would definitely lift the aesthetics of the area, and there are several artists that would be inclined to do such a thing. What I would hope, though, is that there are enough people that would visit those areas so that we would prevent graffiti artists from, wanting to go over, what someone has already done. So if those murals are in areas that aren't well visited, then there's kind of a security issue, and, you may have some code enforcement issues that happen, and there may be some budgetary implications for painting over a mural that has been defaced. And so we'd have to look at all those variables.
Board Member Salvino.
I was going to ask, Mayor. No, I got a question here for you. Thank you. One of the questions that was on the list here that I thought was a pretty good question. What are your strategies and incentives to use to attract developers and investors to the CRA district in Dania?
So I think every CRA should have an incentive program for development to attract developers. I'm not sure what Dania Beach currently utilizes. I know in some areas there are grants, or there are, you get a certain amount of money back based on how many people you employ, or if your business starts up brand new, if you stay in business for 2 years, you will get a certain incentive from the city. There could be a streamlined permitting process that we have in place for businesses so that the hindrance to development would be removed. We could take a look at the fee schedule for permitting and for all the other fees associated with development, and see if we're competitive based on other cities in the area.
How do you deal with adversity?
Head on. I think you can't run from a challenge. I think you have to face it head on, develop a strategy, and go for it. I'm a pretty confident person. I've faced some adversity in my life, both personal and professional, and I've been able to overcome through my faith, one, and by developing a strategy to just tackle it.
Can you give us an example of, not personally, but professionally, a situation that you encountered and you were able to overcome?
I don't want anyone to take any offense to this, but during my time at Miami Gardens, we had some challenges with direction of the bond implementation plan, which was the guidelines put together by the city council to effectively utilize bond funds for construction projects. Now, over time, what the board may agree upon at one moment, that may shift, a year down the road, 2 years down the road, especially
It does.
with elections, changing citizen involvement. And there was a situation where there was a request to make a change to the bond implementation plan that would affect the timeline, schedule, and budget of the project. And so learning how to navigate the political environment as well as to deal with the community, I think I faced a big challenge during my time in the city of Miami Gardens, but was able to overcome it, of course, with the help of my supervisor, the assistant city manager, and the entire management team, so that we could move forward, even though some folks may not have it their way exactly, but we have to progress in a way that most agree upon.
Board Member Brandon Marty.
Did I hear you correctly? You said worked with the assistant city manager?
Correct. While I was,
I love it.
thank you.
Because from the very beginning of this interview, we've heard how it's separate by state and this and that. And yet, when I was first elected 5 years ago, I had a question. So I beat the city manager and I asked him the question. And he says to me, I don't know anything at all about the CRA. So I thought, well, gee, this is strange. It's our money. We're the same board, right? Yet that the right hand don't know what the left hand is doing at all. And it makes it very hard, even for someone that's new as a commissioner, because he's thinking he could always go to the city manager and get the answer. But it doesn't work that way here. In fact, I was told right from the get-go, we are separate. We have nothing to do with the city. My opinion is this: you have all to do with the city, because we are funding it, even though the state says what it says. But I loved what you said about you and the assistant city manager. So you do believe in co-working with the manager of a city?
Absolutely. I think that the city and the CRA have the same goals in terms of improving the quality of life for all the residents. So I would expect that a person in this position would work closely with the city manager, because there are several departments that will be doing work in the CRA areas, including community development, public services, parks and recreation, even the Broward Sheriff's Office. So there's so many city departments that have an impact in the CRA. I don't see how the executive director of the CRA and the city manager would work in silos. I don't see how that would be successful. I'm not saying that the budgets will be commingled or that decision-making in one area
Just
will...
information. You're wonderful.
Vice Chair.
In your experience and your vision for being a CRA director in Dania Beach, could you implement the marketing and community outreach programs with or without the help of a company like RMA? What would you prefer?
Great question.
Well, I think that the CRA has successfully reached out to the community based on everything that I've read. I've looked on your Instagram, your Facebook, your Twitter. I see that there's a lot of communication that goes out to the community and a lot of feedback that is garnered from them. I do have a background in communications as well, a master's in mass communications from University of Florida. I teach public relations at Miami-Dade College, North Campus in their School of Business, and I'm very, very familiar with the marketing and PR process. I think we would have to evaluate the scope of services that RMA either currently has or used to have and see if that should be modified or completely removed from the budget of the CRA.
We're currently in the process of attempting to rebrand Dania Beach. And so a lot of the marketing and the efforts that our CRA is doing will have to work together as a team. And I too agree, like, we have a lot of different entities here in this city, but we are all one city. And so we should operate sort of like a family, in my opinion. And just want to let, those efforts will have to be combined together so we're not duplicating efforts. And I do think that just citywide, we pump out a lot of information to our residents. However, I'm not sure how effective certain levels of communication are. Since you are in public relations and understand that if you are a city and you have only 3 likes on something that you've put out, that you're not being effective even though the information is there. I'm a social media junkie, so
Okay.
I love Facebook, and I know that as of right now, that is probably the most effective way that in 2017 that everyone looks for. People look for their news. Unfortunately, on Facebook, you know, if my neighbor puts something out, that's just the truth, and that's the news, and that's how we kind of communicate. And so my comment to you is just, I like the approach of working together. You've obviously been to a lot of different colleges in Florida. I don't know who you root for when college day comes.
Don't tell her.
As long as you don't root for Florida State. No, but those things are very, very important as far as working together as a team and being able to understand, obviously, that it's still a separate entity, but we're all together.
Right.
Do you have any questions for us as a board?
Sure. And this is to anyone. What would you say would be the most challenging aspect of this position, particularly for someone in the first 6 months of taking on this position?
Commissioner Brandon Marty?
Making and helping the city progress, yet never forgetting that we are the first city in Broward County to maintain that charm. That's hard.
Board Member Salvino?
Thank you. To be able to obviously work with all the board members, all the development, community development, the city manager, and to especially be able to have the right progressive move to continue to bring in events to our city, with especially when we get ready now until the future, when we do our downtown improvements, an aggressive approach to continue to bring developers in, just not about the building, but just to be able to help keep things on a roll and just work and just keep it moving, because we've had a little bit. One thing I wanted to ask you, I don't know if I'm allowed to ask a question. We have had in the past, when I first became a commissioner, we had the executive director that was doing, I think, a pretty good job that got us all started. And then he left, and we outsourced to RMA, who's an outsourced. I'm not sure if you are familiar with it or not. My whole attitude towards that is, and I guess the question I have to ask you, do you think that you can do most of this, or are you going to need a lot of outsourced help? But back to my saying to you is that I would like to see our CRA director try to eliminate as much outsourced spending as possible and see if you're qualified to do this on your own. But that's some of the things that I would like to see. Not saying that we wouldn't like it or that you can't do it. I'm just saying that, I'd like somebody to take that real grip and go.
And just to comment on that, because I think that leads into my next question, unless someone else wanted to answer the first question.
We have a couple more answers for you, but you can feel
Okay.
free to do that first, and then we'll come back.
I couldn't help but notice that the CRA has a very detailed plan, a redevelopment plan in place, updated in 2015, and I think it's spectacular. My impression is that RMA probably assisted in the development of the redevelopment plan, but what I would like to see going forward, if put in this position, is to develop a project sequence, because there are many projects outlined here, and of course there's a limited budget in which to realize those projects. So I would like to see a prioritization of the redevelopment plan on an annual basis. So maybe looking at a annual business plan. I know there's a budget in place annually, but how do we match up the budget and the deliverables? What are we doing year to year that kind of checks off some of the things in the plan? And, I know there are programs that are ongoing and doing well, but I'd like to see a sequence of projects because there's so many outlined in the redevelopment plan.
Board Member Grace?
Yes, we have a lot of programs and development, and we're moving in the right direction. I truly believe that. And I want to make sure that we stay on that track to get those things done, maybe not in the next year, but the next couple of years. And I would like to see the downtown corner be a partnership with the CRA and the business owners so that we can upgrade our downtown area. What are your thoughts on putting some of that in implementation?
I think based on the sub-areas outlined in the redevelopment plan, there are some bullet points associated with doing just what you are referring to. I'm not sure how far in the process you are, but nothing is going to happen redevelopment-wise if you don't engage the existing businesses in your downtown corridor. And maybe that is being done already, but in order to truly develop a partnership, and I know you have merchant meetings on an ongoing basis, but I think both the CRA and those businesses have to have skin in the game in terms of investment. because with the budget that we have and with the scale of projects that we want to do, I think that businesses are going to have to come and step up to the plate and also invest in themselves.
Thank you.
I guess to answer your question that you had asked, I have an answer. Just being able to think outside the box. A lot of times we kind of limit ourselves based on just the expectation of what this board may want, but I believe if you are proactive in bringing ideas, even if we say, absolutely not, never going to happen, not today, not ever, just making, simple things that we aren't thinking of. You have 5 different personalities up here, very different personalities up here. You have 5 different people with very different visions. We've all run for election, and so we've all sit at this board with different visions, but we still have to work together as a team, and you're going to have to, I think the toughest part about this is going to be able to understand each person's personality, their character, and their drive and vision for the city, and find a way to make it all come together with what your vision and your plan and how you're going to move us forward. So just continuing to, obviously, you've worked around a lot of different managements, a lot of different people. You've been in a lot of different, environments, understanding that this environment is very diverse, and we have very far and different thoughts. Me sitting here as the youngest can tell you, like, my thoughts are kind of bizarre to some of others' thoughts, and their thoughts are kind of bizarre to me as well. But to take all of that in respect and try to do the best thing for everyone here to succeed, and also just understanding, again, the other part of the management, the city manager, the assistant city manager, who I want to be able to build a relationship, not so that you all are doing each other's work or you're putting work out on them, but so that you feel comfortable enough if you have a question to not, I don't know legally if this is okay, but for you to be able to contact the city manager, the assistant city manager, without having to come to the board first, because you are the executive director. And so, you can have that comfortable communication and door if that's what you choose to have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Does
You're
anyone
awesome.
else have any questions, or do you have any other questions?
I have one last question.
One last question, okay.
I'm curious as to your level of engagement with the executive director of the CRA.
I think that will vary differently depending on who you ask that question to. But for me, I was very engaged with CRA. I love events and stuff like that, and I kind of wanted to know everything that was going on. So to a T, not specifically detailed to every project and when the deadline was due and who you're reaching out to and all those types of things. But I was engaged quite often.
One reason why I came back out of retirement to be an elected official was because of the new Dania Beach with the CRA. It impressed me so much that I wanted to be a part of what was going on, because out of the 31 cities that we have in Broward County, Dania Beach was the only city that was actually getting stuff done, and we were redeveloping, and of course, we haven't gotten to the rebranding yet, but it enticed me to the point that after sitting out for 11 years, decided to come back and be a part of it. And I'm elated that I did, because we have some major projects that are in the workings for the city of Dania Beach. And I don't mean thousands and hundreds of thousands. I mean billion-dollar projects in the city of Dania Beach, where other cities are going to have to sit up and take notice that Dania Beach is definitely, we've talked about it a lot, first city, second to none, but we're definitely there right now. We are.
My thing that was impressive was, we've been speaking an awful lot on grants. This probably isn't answering your question. And if I'm not mistaken, you said you've worked with them.
With
That's a first.
administering grants?
With helping out with grants.
Yes.
Because we've missed grants for one day in this ERA, one day. So that was impressive.
Thank you.
Vice Chair.
Are you familiar with OASIS programs?
I have been getting familiar based on your website and some of your videos posted
Okay.
online.
'Cause
And,
we have a-
and driving through, I've seen some
Okay.
signage.
Number one question, what's your opinion of those? And number two, would you be in favor of taking those funds that are earmarked for an Oasis programs and concentrating them in our Main Street program for the downtown to energize one particular area rather than the suburban landscape?
My impression of the Oasis project is that they involve the community, which is essential. You want to have that vested interest coming from the community. My opinion, just off the top of my head, is that I don't think they should be concentrated in just one area, given that the CRA has 7 sub-areas, all of those areas needing a little touch of improvement. I think the Oasis projects are kind of low-lying fruit, so some things that can be accomplished rather easily or quickly. I don't think that you should redirect all of your Oasis project funding to the downtown area. You may want to look at a portion and evaluate what projects you have slated and their importance to the overall redevelopment plan. But I wouldn't say just concentrated in one area.
Well, if nothing else, thank you, Raquel,
so
for
much.
coming.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Ms. Williams.
We
Good
appreciate
luck
you.
with the rest of your day, and hopefully I'll hear from you soon. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. I definitely didn't even write on this.
She reminds me of Tamara. I swear to Christ, she's a little clone of
Before you bring the next person in,
She is.
I have a question. I barely wrote on this. Is this something that we're supposed to be writing on, like, during the interview, or this? Because what I was writing on here are just thoughts that I may have, but this isn't my evaluation of.
Right, well,
Candidate.
since you all, are asking your own questions, you don't even really have to use that form. That was more just if you were interested in asking those scripted questions, you can of course use it for notes, but they would be
Okay.
public record. So I will, if you do take any notes, I will need to take those at the end.
Okay,
Yeah,
great.
because I put my notes on.
I just didn't know. I
Yeah,
looked at
that-
the-
Standing
I
things.
peeked over, and Vice Chair is it's all filled up, and I'm like, look at my page.
It's, people, it's just your style. It's, it's totally up to you.
Okay,
You're not
thank
required
you. I
to
don't feel
use them.
bad
It's
now.
just there as a tool for you, should you need it.
Thank you.
I don't know if you all need a few more minutes before we bring in the next person?
No.
Let's go.
Okay.
I didn't write anything.
My notes.
The next is Hendrick, correct? Yeah.
Oh, she was good.
But they're all going to be good.
That's why we picked them.
Hey, I'll make a copy.
But if she needs it for public record, then
Thanks.
make a copy.
Who is this one? His name.
It's Barnard Jones
What's his name?
or Hendrick.
Barnard Jones?
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
How are you? Good. I'm going to ask you to pronounce your name so I don't mess it up, so we don't mess it up.
First and last name, Hendrik Van Leesten.
Van Leesten. Okay. Well, you have a couple of minutes to tell us about yourself and why you chose to apply for this job and what are your hopes.
Number 2.
Oh, number 2.
Just for everybody to, that's okay?
Okay.
Oh, Henrik. Wait a minute, don't get this lady confused. This one I want, this one I want. Hi.
Do you have extra? 5? Okay. There you go. This is our attorney. He can have mine after we're finished, but we can share.
Thank you.
Trying to raise this up a little bit, 'cause I'm kind of not that tall. So,
Yeah, you can take it off.
thank you. What interested me in this position was the ability to, I was an urban affairs major in college, city planning, urban affairs, and my background and experience has been in both urban affairs and city planning. Growing up in the city of Boston, I really got to see firsthand a lot of things that were happening within my community. I moved here in 2000 to South Florida, and since then I've been very steeped in different activities related to redevelopment within CRA districts and urban areas. So when I saw the position, I thought it would be a great opportunity for me to work for the city of Dania Beach and help to be a part of the growth and development of the city while realizing the current needs of the community. So it's something that's very close and dear to my heart, hence the reason why I applied for the position.
Okay, we can open it up for questions if you all like. Tell me the first thing you think about when you think of Dania Beach.
Oldest city in Broward County,
Okay.
the pier, Tugboat Annie's.
Tugboat Annie's.
What did he say? Yeah.
Tugboat Annie's.
Now, he's dating himself, and I know exactly where he's coming from, because that was one of our really nice
That's funny.
vineyards. I know.
Okay. Board Member Grace.
Have you had the opportunity to do a little driving around and see what you think about the development in the city of Dania Beach?
Yes, I have, and it's very unique in that small city, but nestled right between, the major big cities like Fort Lauderdale and Hollywood. And I think that Dania Beach is right there in terms of becoming a major development city within the county itself. So I think that the key is being able to sustain the development while, not forcing people to leave the area. So I think that Dania Beach has, the best of both worlds right now. You still have a strong local presence, but you also have other people that are coming in as well. So I think there's going to be a balance there between the two, making sure that the current residents can stay and enjoy the benefits and the reaps of the developments that are coming now down the pipeline.
Board Member Brandon Marty.
Yes. Do you know how the CRA is funded?
Yes, I do.
What's your opinion on the TIF?
I wish that the CRA could actually obtain TIF, but it being a non-TIF recipient community, through the years, the counties, both Dade and Broward County, have turned away from providing TIF as a major source of revenue for the district. So now it's a matter of, general fund and other sources of revenue coming in from developments that are happening. I think TIF is necessary, and I wish that the county would, release TIF to the other cities that could really use it.
One last question. Do you think we should set up in the city a TIF?
I think it would be necessary, yes.
Thank you. That's it.
Okay. Vice Chair.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Based on your experience in a large city like Boston, and then also your experience in real estate, would you be able to successfully implement a PR and marketing campaign for the city, or would you need the assistance of a company like RMI to partner up with you?
I think partnerships are always good because I'm not a marketing specialist when it comes to really marketing the city. I think that meeting with them, along with the commission, mayor, and staff, to kind of develop to sell the story is important. But I think that definitely partnering up with a big marketing firm is important. Coming from a big city like Boston, Boston sells itself. Dania Beach, who would have known that it is the first county in Broward County? Everybody thinks about Fort Lauderdale or Hollywood Beach, but Dania Beach is a great city as well. So I think that telling the story and selling the story is what would be the goal, but bringing in the people, the stakeholders, as well as current staff to help with that process would be necessary.
Being as though you've come from Boston, could you tell me the differences and the challenges that you would face in Dania Beach that you wouldn't have faced in Boston, and how you plan to overcome those obstacles?
Wow. So I have been here for many years, but and most of my experience in terms of work and development has been in South Florida. But in terms of comparing it to Boston, I think that Boston is steeped in education, healthcare, known for that. And those are the things that make Boston a really great city. Within a certain mile radius, you have over 30 or 40 colleges and universities. So Boston's known as a mecca for education, and healthcare. So people from all over the world go there to be educated, and they stick around and stay. And they also go there for medical treatment, and they stick around and stay. So I think that in terms of Dania Beach growing and its growth and development as a city, when comparing to Boston, we'd have to look at what we have to offer with regards to education and also healthcare. So I think that one of the goals could possibly be to bring in colleges and universities that would be willing to open up a branch office there. Like Johnston and Wales is I think they started in Rhode Island, but they have a branch in South Florida. I think it's North Miami Beach. So you have colleges like that, a culinary school that could come in, or another school that's a major national school that could come in and also open up a branch here as well. So I think that education and healthcare are keys to kind of growth and development of the city, and that also brings an international flair as people come. I mean, if I was coming from another country that was warm, I wouldn't want to go to Boston to study because it's very cold. Whereas being here in South Florida, you have a lot of, that's one of the selling points. Come to Dania Beach, come to school, you can go to the beach, you can, enjoy yourself, and you're close to, other places.
Board Member Salvino?
Thank you. I'm sure that you probably have explored what's going on here in Dania Beach before you apply for the job, so you're a little bit aware of what's going on. With that, what is your vision for the CRA, and to achieve that by, how do you hope to achieve it by directing the CRA both personally and through the city? I know.
So my vision for the CRA itself, with all the the two major developments that are underway right now, they're bringing in a lot of commercial, retail, and residential, both rental and potentially condo, depending on how the market changes. But I am a real estate broker also, and I have 3 offices, one in Miramar, Boston, and Providence, Rhode Island. So I do understand market conditions, trends, and how this market is going. Happy to see it going the way it's going in terms of bringing in potential tax-based revenue and employment opportunities. I think that the key to the development continuing would be the vision that I see happening is kind of more local participation in terms of jobs and job creation. So if a lot of these organizations and companies that are coming in and developing these projects are hiring their own guys or crews, when the market was down, people downsized. And so people who stayed with those organizations, such as construction companies, would bring on the ones who were loyal and stay on board, who they could afford to keep on board, keep the doors open. I think there should be some partnerships between, as the city continues to grow and develop, between these companies that are coming in, construction, mainly, specifically, or architectural firms that are coming in, and kind of look to hire local people, Section 103, and bring in local businesses that do some of the work, whether it's architectural engineering, and on the construction side, being able to train a lot of the people who are residents of the community already. We know it's coming, construction, it's going to continue to go, whether it's for sale or for rent, but having people in the position from Dania Beach to be able to take advantage of those and be able to, have a job, employment, gain a skill, and that will continue to allow the economy to grow, because if they're local and they live here, they're going to spend money here, and that'll just continue to help the community flourish.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Vice Chair.
We don't currently have a designated historical district. We have a few properties that are historical. I think there's 8 or 9. But what's your opinion on historical districts, and what limitations or advantages that you have for a historical district? Because I think the oldest part of, if you're from Boston, Boston goes back to the 1700s, but I think there's some buildings in Dania Beach that go back to like 1905, which, I know people older than that. So what's your opinion on historical districts?
I think historical districts are great because it would allow you to actually leverage some of those with historic federal tax credit. So in terms of developing these areas, if there was like a historic downtown Dania, you'd be able to bring in developers who are interested in buying and developing properties within these areas and obtaining the tax credits, which are federally subsidized and sold on the private market at different rates. Could be 80 cents on the dollar, but that is almost like a TIF in itself, and that these historic tax credits can be used to further the development of the area. So I think historical district would be great as long as there's enough product. But you could also, with the historic district itself, create on vacant lots that were there a kind of theme for the area, kind of like Davie has their whole Western theme. When you're driving around, you feel like you're in the Midwest, you know, the cows and the types of properties that look like they're in the Midwest. I think that historical district would be great for two reasons. One, it gives Dania another identity that you had mentioned earlier, Chairwoman James. And also, it will allow, that can be leveraged for the developers for the historic tax credits, which they can use to further their development needs and fill in that gap, whether it's for infrastructure or what have you.
Board Member Salvino?
Thank you. Oops, sorry. Listening, a couple of things. Well, you know, I brought up the same question to the last candidate that we do have a couple of large events in here, and being that we are TIF-less, and the city has allowed a budget to the CRA, and when we start talking about promoting, you know, certain things, and you said you weren't very good at the promotional public relations. Is that what it was? Or
yeah, I said I don't have that experience, but I would be willing to work with the ones who
right.
are.
Well, that's the problem is when you start working with somebody else, then that finance that you get for the CRA, you're spending that part of that budget to hire somebody else out to do that. And not that RMA didn't do a great job advertising, but it is an expense. So without that, you know, with that coming back, and if we try to keep some of that money back in your CRA budget, how would you be able to try to get out there? Do you have any certain ways that you'd be able to promote this, a couple of our big events that we have without getting too expensive and going to the outsourcing situation? Do you have any ideas on how to do that, or do you know of anybody that could outsource the whole seafood festival that would not cost the CRA money and still be involved in it, where you would be able to retain your funds?
So I think nowadays technology is one of the greatest marketing tools that we have in terms of Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook. I would look first to city staff that currently runs the website and deals with the IT, and talk with them and meet with them and discuss ways in which we can utilize existing free ways that we can market these events. You can pay $10 on Facebook and reach out to 1,000 people. Yeah. So I think that we can really look towards the budget itself and people that are already on staff and working within the city, and kind of have them help out with that while maintaining the budget. Because being a TIF-less city, I mean, it's important, as you mentioned, to keep within the budget. That's what I would do.
Board Member Brandon Marty?
Yes. Sir, you mentioned that you're a real estate broker. Are you willing to give it up?
Stole my
I
question.
would.
Pardon me?
My brokerage license, or?
Well, you know, being a CRA director and plus being a real estate broker, which I know many, both jobs are very demanding, so I want to know where you stand on this issue.
Yeah, I would.
Wait a minute, to the city attorney, am I in line with the question?
Yeah, just wants to know,
Yeah.
you'd commit full-time to be the CRA
That's an
and not do
important
a secondary
question
job?
to me.
Yeah, I can commit full-time. The brokerage is, I'm the principal broker, so it runs itself, and I would commit to the position full-time.
So you're the head man in that office, though? Am
Yeah.
I correct?
Yes.
So they all answer to you, correct?
Yes.
I think you'd be a very busy man. Thank you, especially in today's world. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Just to follow up with that, because that was my question. You are the owner of this, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So I know that everyone's heads that currently that sits in the CRA, it's spinning. They've been very overwhelmed with the work. Even our former executive director was very, very, very busy, and at times almost stressed, just because of the amount of what we are trying to do here in the city. That's, I guess, my same question would be, how would this affect that?
So I would, in my own, I guess, defense, I would be able to, for the companies that I have and the branches I have, put somebody else in my place, a managing member or a manager to come in and handle the day-to-day operations. I wouldn't have a problem with doing that.
But you would still be over that manager?
Thank you.
I would be over the manager. No, I would let him run it.
Well, because it says that you are the owner
Yes.
of this. And so are you going to give up your company to someone else?
No.
Because I wouldn't give up my company. I'm just saying.
Right.
I'm not asking you to give anything up. I'm
Right.
just asking, how is that going to work? Like, you're the owner of this. You can't just hand over your keys to someone else. So I don't know necessarily how that's going to work. Because if you haven't noticed yet, you have 5 very demanding people that sit on this board.
Yes.
And I don't want you to think that it's going to get easier from here, because it will not get easier from here. Matter of fact, you will be handed a lot of expectation if you got this job. So with expectation comes, being able to be on call all the time, or especially during the work hours that we are working, and we would expect that you treated this job like you were the owner of this job, just like you're treating this job.
Right, and that's what I would do. I would commit fully to running the CRA in the district. I would bring in somebody else to run my company. That
Okay.
would be- yeah. As a broker, I'm the broker owner, but if I brought in a managing partner, they can go ahead and take care of the day-to-day operations. Another broker, not an agent, but a broker who could run it.
Okay.
That's it.
Board Member Grace?
Yes, I have 2 questions. The first question is, basically, if we can do it through a resolution for a partnership with developers and adding the community component to it, how would you react to us as developers come in through the CRA, adding that component to it? And the second part of the question is, as we nested between Fort Lauderdale and Hollywood, as a CRA director, as you're bringing forth projects, how do you entice those developers, businesses to be part of Dania Beach CRA and having them do projects in Dania Beach that will be able to spend money, shop in Dania Beach, eat in Dania Beach?
Okay. Thank you. So for the
Loaded
first,
question.
yeah, for the first question, I would say that in terms of that resolution, I would welcome that because I think that in order to, for the city to move forward and to grow and develop as a whole, the whole city needs to grow and develop. East is one thing, west is another thing, and the central part. But I think that by, pushing the hand of potential developers that are coming in, the higher local, for example, through a resolution, whether it's 10% or 20%, that's very important, and I would welcome that. Part of that is anticipating this would be to make sure that the folks that are living here are actually in a position to take advantage of those opportunities. Because everybody can say we're going to hire 25% of the residents to work at our company, but once they go out and they can't find anybody qualified, it's a whole nother ball of wax, right? So the intent is to, prior to that, start these initiatives that will allow folks to get educated in demolition and construction, green technology, and those types of fields. So I would welcome that resolution. To answer your second question, can you repeat it?
Yes, as we're nested between Fort Lauderdale and Hollywood, as the CRA really entice developers and businesses to come in and do business with Dania Beach, how do you put in position that they will be able to have returns on their monies by people stopping in Dania Beach, eating in Dania Beach, shopping in Dania Beach?
So I think that with this proximity to the airport, I think some of the marketing efforts should be done right at the airport or through the airport or on the planes, forming these allegiances and partnerships with the venues and the ways people are actually coming into the area. That's on by flight and by cruise ship. So these two means of communication in terms of marketing would be vital to those people who'd like to come in and develop their restaurants and their shops and their bars, what have you. So I think that that's critical. So for those developers to come in, they have to understand that the city is behind them in trying to promote the city through marketing and through the other efforts that are that we spoke about earlier. So I think that one reason why. Another benefit for them coming into the area is the fact that the land values actually here are a little bit less expensive, depending where you are. East is east, on the waterfront, but you can actually come in at a lower price point in Dania Beach than in Fort Lauderdale and Hollywood and different areas, and so your return on investment will be greater since you have construction costs are the same, labor is the same, but the land is where you can actually make a greater return because you have less to carry.
Thank you.
All right. Okay.
Vice Chair.
How do you feel about an art in public places program, and how would you create a vibrant arts program in Dania Beach, because we currently don't have one?
Art Basel. I mean, it's very popular. It's taken over Miami, the design district, and they have many different areas that have like little offshoots of it. And I would say there should be a call to the public who are local. I'm sure there are plenty of artists here who are local who have wares, skills, and the ability to start to market their products here. I think that would be one way, utilizing current city space. And there are also a lot of grants out there for communities that are like the National Arts Endowment Grant for communities that are trying to develop art programs. So I would link up with the national organizations, find local people within the community, have a local presence, and then start to do public art exhibits even here in the lobby of the government center. That would be one way. And also, when speaking with the residents, look for areas that people would like to see something in the park. So I think about Art Basel. I also think about in different places in Dade County where you see public art, like on Calle Ocho, you have, the big chickens, or in different areas you'll have a big panda, whatever the area. It's kind of related to the community itself, and it's public art. So I think that would be one way to kind of invigorate it, using local people, looking to national sources, and trying to create and foster it through people who are already here. In places like Boston or the design district, where you had a lot of affordable housing at one point, or Brooklyn, folks moved into the areas because of the affordable housing. And typically those were the artists who would come into artist lofts, or painters, or artisans, et cetera. So there could be a balance there between bringing in folks who are here already, or the artists who would like to be here because it's a great place to live, and then looking for funds federally to help foster and grow that and develop an art atmosphere here.
How familiar are you with grants and grant writing?
I'm very familiar. So my resume doesn't show, but I was project manager for the CRA of Fort Lauderdale, and I also worked at different capacities as a consultant for different agencies in helping out with grant writing, from green funding grants to grants for development. So
Do you know how to write small grants?
Yes, I do.
And talk about what you view as the government's role in private industry, economic development, and community programming.
Integral role. I think that it all starts with the government. And that's what I bring to the table, the ability. I have experience working for, Dade County, City of Fort Lauderdale, State of Rhode Island as a principal planner. So I have that experience working for government and also working on the private sector. But I think that it all starts with the government being able to foster all of those things that you just mentioned, being able to kind of lead the way. And being the government, you know where the needs are and where the gaps are, and looking for those organizations that can fill them. That'd be important as well.
Okay. Do you have any questions for the board?
No, it's a great interview. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Oh, I have something else. Yeah.
Is it a check? Just joking. JK. Thank you. Go that way.
Thank you, sir. Oh, no.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a great one.
Thank you. Have a good one.
No.
Go ahead.
Are we allowed to discuss amongst ourselves these candidates and make a comment, so we have a an input with each other about these candidates, like how we compare them, just so we can use our better judgment, any bad points, good points, something like that? Are we allowed to do that?
Absolutely. When you conclude them, you just have a frank discussion of who you liked, who you
At the
didn't. You know,
Well, I'm not
strengths,
sure if we,
weaknesses.
but we have the time, we have time now, right? Because
plenty of time.
Bradley Muskell isn't here.
You had 3
So-
hours, sir.
I actually
Wait, 3
believe
hours.
he actually is here. I believe he's here. I need to check and make sure that is him. I'm just getting something that.
Okay, I mean, I guess we can discuss something.
I just
Can
have
we
one, I
discuss
just have
right
one
now?
comment to
Okay.
make, and on the last gentleman, you know, because I've interviewed people for 40 years in my business and stuff. You know, when you see the resume of different agencies that you go to, and then you end up in a private real estate business, and then your question was very good, whoever asked the question about the time and stuff. You know, I don't understand the bouncing around of these things to the point of that, and then and then have a real estate company, and on top of being, you know, a CRA director. I don't know where that all leads to. It kind of leads to a little bit of a question why you're bouncing from city to city, place to place, and then start your own real estate company. It kind of puts a flag on me, that's all. And I don't know if the time itself is going to be, you're right, you can't own a business and not be there.
Yeah, that was my concern before.
City Attorney, am I looking too much into this? Because here's what I'm looking at.
Turn your mic on.
We're in the prime of development here, big monies and all. And then we're looking at a real estate broker. Is there an advantage there somewhere? Is there a conflict of interest there somewhere? Because how do I know how many people that are applying in this city that the person could be affiliated with? Isn't there any kind of a conflict there, Tom?
Well, again, if you're looking for someone that's full-time committed
Yeah.
to doing this work for you, having and turning over your business to somebody else, how would you do that and not be worried about it? How is it doing? I think Mr. Salvino and you and the mayor have all pointed out you have two masters, and you can't really
You know,
have two masters.
one more thing, too.
Yeah, wait, I'm not finished. One more second, one more, right? When the person says, like when the mayor says to him, who's going to do your job? Basically, in street talk, that's what she's asking. That's the way I ask. Who's doing your job? Well, somewhere along the line in Bill doing my job, all right, let's put it that way, he has to come back to me. He has to come back to me.
You know,
Because he don't dare make a
No
decision
way around that.
that she is going to get PO'd about. It ain't going to happen.
If you don't sell your business, you've got to monitor your business.
you know-
There's too much room there to play with money that I
you
don't
know,
like through
perfect-
developers.
Just a perfect example of that. You know, I have my two businesses. I'm never at the other one. My other shop's being run, but every day I'm on the phone, taking an hour or two consulting, so I don't see how that would work. The other thing too, Tom, you know, one thing we don't want to get ourselves into, are these applicants, or maybe I should ask Kristen, are they being, do we know if they have any criminal background before we?
It's on the back of your sheets, and its answer's no.
Okay.
My question to that,
Okay, thank you. I didn't see it.
my question to that is, I thought that we did not ask them that until we
Can't.
got to it.
You're right. Personal questions you can't
No, we
ask.
But they answered it on the, this was from something different when I asked this question, but it was said that that was not one of our questions about if you've been arrested or
Right.
if you have a
We can't
criminal
ask that,
background.
but doesn't it go in an application form? It doesn't, you can't?
That's what I heard it wasn't on an
Okay.
application form, but
Okay.
it's clear, number 6 said, have you ever been convicted?
Convicted,
Is
thank
that
you.
true? Because
That's all.
someone came here and they stated something about they don't look initially at if you have been arrested or anything. They give everyone the same opportunity when interviewing, and then
I see.
after a certain process, then that's asked. But this has been asked from the beginning.
Sure.
Looks like to me.
It is.
Well, I think
Felony.
you do that, Broward County Sheriff's Department asks that question before they hire a deputy.
Oh, that's BS.
Okay, let's go.
But she's
Well, we
right.
gotta wait. We gotta wait until we don't have the other.
Oh, they're not
Is
here?
it just me? They're here, but we don't have the other forms.
Is this
No.
the guy, this is the guy that?
No, because
You pulled it, and so I was asking if you can get it.
Is Jones here?
Probably not. It's really early for his time. Can I have another
It's not
piece of
his
tape?
fault.
My thing fell
But
off.
this, I had to ask
Okay.
a question. Would you give it up on me? It makes sense to me. Never mind.
Absolutely not.
Thank you, honey. Thanks for your answer.
Thanks, Tom.
It just was bothering me, Tom, personally, because I look at the salary that the person's looking for a month, and I'm thinking to myself, something doesn't smell right here. It just wasn't right. I had to ask you that. I was really afraid to ask you that, because I was afraid you were
I'm-
going to say,
I'm glad you asked.
can't get personal like that, Chicky. That's what I thought you were going to say.
No, it was perfectly within the reason of asking.
Okay,
It's a
thank you.
divided loyalty, it's a problem.
Thank you. Yeah, there's loyalty issues.
That one's out.
Okay. I mean, we could, if he's here, do you guys need his resume?
I don't need it.
No, because we're judging him on the answers to our questions. I don't.
I mean, what I can suggest is that you just give us an extra one of these if we want to take notes, and you can give it to us after the next interview if you needed time for that.
Bring Jones in.
Want to bring him in?
Jones is here?
I think Jones should go.
Okay, let's Jones.
It's 11:30, right?
Come in?
Well, no, I don't know. What are the time of the interviews? Who are we supposed to interview time-wise that they
You
know?
were
Bernard
supposed to
Jones.
interview Bradley Merkel first, and then
First.
Bernard Jones, because,
Yeah.
but Bernard Jones was very early, he was supposed to be here.
What a good guy.
So,
Well, the other guy isn't late,
No,
no,
so I
he's
don't want
not.
to bump him.
No.
It's just us that we don't have our paperwork. I don't
Right,
wanna
because
bump
he
him
was
because
supposed
of
to
that.
be, the week of the 10th, but he obviously
Jones
took
is next.
time off from.
and Kathleen, these papers where we put our notes on them, why do you have to take them? Why can't I keep my notes?
Kristen takes them back for the record,
Public record.
public.
Okay, but then I want a copy, because
have a
I'm not
copy.
going to remember who was
No, you
like
can, you can,
this and who like that.
anybody who wants a
There's too
copy,
many
you can
people.
certainly have copies of your own notes.
Okay, thanks,
So-
Louise.
Jones.
Where is Jones? Bernard Jones, I got it. I better not say he owns a florist.
I don't know, I just felt like that's his interview time.
Hey, Bob, you better not
That's
say
his
he owns
interview
a
time.
florist.
Okay.
That's the
For a
interview time,
restaurant.
though. He made in his interview time space, so. Thank
Is
you.
this one going to be Mr. Jones? Okay, I'm going to write it down. B-E-R-N-A-R.
No, we don't have Muckle. We have Jones.
No, he's here.
You said he was here. Oh, we didn't know that he was, okay. This is what, we thought when you said he's here, we thought you meant Muckle is here. So we have Jones, sorry.
We originally scheduled Muckle, and he's the individual who was not able to come until next week.
Right.
So my apologies. And when I said he's here, I meant Bernard Jones.
Oh.
So, but enjoy.
Okay, so we were trying to figure out who's going up next, Muckle or Jones?
Well,
Okay.
I'm okay. That makes a lot more sense.
We
So,
got it, Bernard Jones.
You ready?
Yes.
All right.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I guess I can state your name, Barnard Jones, correctly. I've been asking everyone else to pronounce their names. So you have a few minutes to tell us about yourself to open up the interview.
Okay. Good morning to everyone.
Morning.
My name is Barnard Jones. I've been in South Florida since '95. Originally from Fort Walton Beach, Florida. My dad was a career military officer. So I've had experiences living abroad. Moved to South Florida in '95. Finished my master's degree. I went to Florida State University. Don't know. Struggling a
In
little
your
bit.
face.
Okay. Relocated to South Florida. I was finishing my master's in sports administration. Initially got an internship at Nova, Southeastern University, working in the sports rec department. Immediately finishing my degree, I got my bearings here in South Florida, and my first major job that I got was being the minority business coordinator for the South Florida Super Bowl host committee. My job there was to attract local MBEs to land prime contracts with the National Football League. South Florida has an extensive history of Super Bowls coming to the area, so they try to find local businesses to help support Super Bowl activities. Went through that process, 200-plus jobs, $5.8 million for local Miami-Dade, Broward, Palm Beach County businesses that received funding from the NFL and affiliates. Fell in love, met a young lady, stopped working with the NFL and started working in the city of Pompano Beach. There I worked approximately 7 years as the economic development coordinator. There we had 2 CRAs, so a lot of the same things, similarities from Pompano Beach and Dania Beach, marine-based community. You have the same kinds of issues that you had in the city of Pompano. Worked with the community development agency, working with community development block grant funding, assisting the communities. At the end of my tenure, we created a second CRA on the beach. So I was extensively in that process, the charrettes, writing the detail to put the infrastructure in place, working with the local businesses, community. I was active in the Chamber of Commerce. I actually had an office in the Chamber of Commerce also, so actively working there. I was executive director of the Pompano Economic Group, Pompano Economic Development Council, worked with the Broward County agencies, Broward Alliance, South Florida Marine Industry, so I was able to meet a lot of different people, and I think with that type of background, I think it would work, and it's a good fit for the city of Dania.
Board Member Grace.
Working with the city of Pompano Beach, the minority builders, and also the CRA, who was the mayor of that city at that time?
When I initially got to City Hall, you had Pat Larkins and Bill Griffin,
Okay,
the mayor at that time. So
because I worked with him, so I just want to make sure you, okay.
yes,
Why Dania Beach? What is your first impression and opinion of Dania Beach?
very similar to Pompano. I mean, like I said, you have a lot of a rich history, a diverse community. It's up and coming. Initially, when development was happening in South Florida, 2008, 2009, after everything kind of halted, everything kind of stopped. Pompano was in the same position. How do you bring businesses, create activity in a community? And it's based on the history. I think a lot of the amenities that both cities have, I think it's very similar. You have all of the infrastructure, airport, roads, all of those things. You're in a great position to create business and industry. So I see a lot of similarities, even within the communities. You have a diverse group. I think with my background in dealing with people and having experience, I think it would be a good fit.
Board Member Grace.
Yes, the city of Dania Beach has a TIFLIS CRA. How would you be able to work with the county commissioners to try and persuade them to fund the CRA in the city of Dania Beach?
It's CRA's a relationship business. meeting the right people, having the right infrastructure in place, and showing and demonstrating that you can work within all of the entity and the agencies to make it work. It's not just county, we have funding, we need this. The city has to bring something to the table, and I think with doing the programs and the things that are in place and being the person to lead, I think that's something versus, well, we need it. Yes, everyone's competing for it, but like I said, with the relationship business, and some of my background and skills in having existing working relationships and understanding even the dynamics of South Florida, as long as I've been here and working actually in Broward County, I think that would be an asset in being competitive for working with them.
Board Member Brandon Marty.
Yes. Good morning, Mr. Jones.
Good morning.
Mr. Jones, do you think that we, as a city, should set up a TIF program, TIF program?
As a developer, as an economic development professional, you would want to utilize every tool you can to be able to match the different opportunities. If it was warranted, I think it definitely needs to be looked at, but right now, coming in, looking at it, you work with what you have, and if that's something that warrants it, you move forward and demonstrating why it would be needed.
Vice Chair.
Good morning. I have two questions. The first one is, based on your experience and your relationships in South Florida, would you be able to spearhead the CRA development programs by yourself, or would you need the aid of a partner company like RMA?
Like I said, once you get in, it's as a practitioner, you work with everybody, you work with partners. If that warrants it, that would make sense for what you're looking at and where you are in your development process, that would make sense. But working with, you need a team to do anything. So I think, like I said, depending on if it warranted, it would make sense. But if not, you're working with all the professional Florida Redevelopment Association. I actually do know both of the RMA partners, so that's an existing relationship I've had for years with Chris Brown. And
so my second question is, based on your experience in the past, I think it was in 2010 for the last Super Bowl.
Yes.
And it's coming here in 2020.
Yes.
How would you use your past experience in 2010 to spearhead CRA initiatives for 2020?
With my experience in working with the NFL, I know what they're looking for. I was fortunate a couple of times before as a staff and as a consultant to sit down with the decision makers, and they said, we want a place that would have access from every direction, have a city that would work with them to help showcase it. Proximity to the stadium, it's really not a stadium issue. It's quality of life and creating events, having working relationships with local CVBs. I've done the fan tours. I know them firsthand. So, and even knowing the crime, I'm able to initiate a phone call initially and ask. There's a infrastructure in place. How about this particular event? Would you consider meeting with the city of Dania Beach and hosting an event in the community? That's simple.
Board Grace.
We have so much diversity here in the city of Dania Beach. As you indicated that you are from Florida State, we have the U that is represented as the mayor of the city of Dania Beach, and then you have Commissioner Bobby H. Grace, who is definitely a diehard Dallas Cowboy fan. Okay. So as I entertain that, as the new director of the CRA for the city of Dania Beach, what visions would you have for us in the near future, knowing that we really do have right now major projects that are implemented and that will be completed by the year 2019, working with other merchants and developers, what vision would you have for Dania Beach?
As you see, I guess you've seen my resume. One of my companies that I'm a managing partner in, Exposure Sports Management Group, I work with professional athletes. Part of my job was to help them transition from the sports world into their next endeavor. Some of them started foundations. I had a client that went into business practice, car washes, those types of things. Our motto in dealing with the athlete is that's the commonality. I have clients that went to the U, went to Florida State. We say green is green. We want to utilize each partner in the area. One of my clients, I'm sure you've seen, is Benny Blades. Big person in the community in Fort Lauderdale. At the U, we've done extensive programs in South Florida, in Detroit, through his foundation. Part of the strategy would be to align with some of those particular entities that have a natural tie to the NFL with local kids. This is what they've done actually in the community, and position them in this community to do the same thing. So it would be a seamless process. Thank you.
Okay, and let me ask you just one follow-up question. We have a vision for streetscape for our downtown area. What can you bring to the table?
With some of the local engineering firms, in my experience in working with them in the past, that's a conversation and sitting down and having meaningful dialogue and seeing what it would take, being able to work on a state level and even getting funds and making sure that.
Board member, excuse me. Your phone's on speakerphone.
I'm sorry, my wife's at the doctor, and she's going in for surgery, and they're trying to schedule it, and I just was trying to.
Okay, no, I was just telling you it's on speakerphone.
Sorry, I apologize. Let me turn it off.
You could talk to your wife.
No, she's not well, and she's going in for some surgery, and she's at the doctor now.
Well, step out.
I'm all right, I'm caught up.
I understand that when you play sports, you get kind of pushed to the side, you regroup, and you come back. There's no problem. Working with some of the local agencies, and part of my background was grant writing. So there's a lot of stuff that you could work with. One of the projects we worked with in the city of Pompano Beach, Manny Diaz Farms, some of the hurricanes in the past, we worked with them to align Copans and Atlantic Boulevard with trees coming off the interstate after one of the hurricanes. So we actually worked with them to get that replaced and beautify the city. And there was a extensive landscaping project that we worked on in the District 4 in the northwest area of Pompano. So.
I'll let everyone else go. Vice Chair?
Getting back to your experience with Super Bowl, could you conceivably put together like a citywide event for Dania Beach and in conjunction with the hotels?
Absolutely.
Over the next year and fill up all those hotels and fill up Dania Place, Dania Point, and do a citywide sponsored NFL event here to attract.
Part of the strategy is putting the infrastructure in place and getting ahead to its competition. It can be done. I've done it. I did it with Clematis, City of West Palm Beach. So depending on, and this would be a up and coming place, and NFL always looks for new opportunity. They are been in South Florida for a long time. They look for new venues, and based on the positioning and the lead time, that's what you would be able to have. Working with the host committee and being able to be in front and actively position as a county, as a city, and saying when the NFL looks for, they might have 10 signature events, 3 in each county. One of those can be or either a tier 1 or 2 event. So with the development that's going on and having the activity and the infrastructure in place, I think it would be a very desirable thing to do.
My next question is, when you walked in here today, what was your impression of the City Hall complex?
Nice, quaint. I've been to other city halls that, like I said, I'm a military kid. I've seen from it looks like a mall, open-air mall to a nice, quaint community. I've been in towns with 1,500 people. So you can do a lot of different things. That's important. But I think right now it fits where Dania used to be. And I think moving forward that that will help if you're able to do some things to really say, wow.
The reason I'm asking is because we recently closed out an RFQ for a P3 partnership to enter, or to basically build a city hall complex and some mixed-use retail or whatever the proposal was, but no one bid on it. We had no proposals. So what would your next step be to?
First thing is ask why. Go back to those developers and say, what was it that didn't make that an attractive opportunity? Take that into consideration. Some of my own personal relationships, being able to reach out to people I've done stuff with and say, hey, take a look at this and get their input and try again. That's just off the cuff.
Board Member Salvino?
Thank you. Looking at your application, I see that, obviously, listening to you talk today, you definitely have the connections throughout wherever, the city, the state, to bring all that element to us. On your application, it says that you only want to work day shifts. We have.
Oh, no, that was
Okay.
online. You get the job done.
Okay. Well, I just said that's why I was questioning, because
Oh, no.
we have other events that take weekends and stuff like that.
Nights.
And
Most of
nights.
my events are at night, and
Okay.
activities I've done is citywide, and,
Are
city
you-
commission meetings, special events, so.
I have a question for you, and I'm trying to get this through my head, and that's nothing to do with the board, because we're in the middle of a process right now. I just want to see what your opinion is, because listen to what you're talking now about the things you're able to accomplish. I just want to see if you have an answer that might make me decide in my mind, which way I think I need to think. We're trying to put on a arts and seafood festival right now, and for the last 5 years, the CRA has put it out there, and it's cost the CRA a lot of money, and the city, which they lose. And I guess they financially lose. Doesn't mean they lose anything, because they do get some publicity out of it. My question to you is that, and I talk a lot about, I'm talking about 6 figures, and I'm asking you, is there a way that you could put on an event like that, a 2-day event like that, and not cost the CRA that kind of money, and outsource it to a point where it doesn't cost the residents money to get involved into it a whole lot, where it can still be sponsored or whatever, that they can bring that we have the 20,000 or 30,000 people that come here. Do you have alternatives to something like that?
I work with NFL with that. That's private, entering into a partnership to privatize it. Being able to find a Nike, a Coke, a Pepsi, and have them be a sponsor. They would oversee the activities, and the city would work with them through the permit process. If you had street closures, any of those types of things, logistics that I'm sure you have through your special event permitting process, and being able to partner and look for that to grow. Most of those types of entities, they want multi-year deals. It's tough to do a big event and turn it around in 1 or 2 years. They want a partner, no different than what a city would want. So having those types of relationships and being realistic in the scope of it, it's not well, here's $300,000 to see what you can do, but you have to,
Okay, then just to follow up with that question is that, seeing that, that I feel that you truly are experienced in all those fields and stuff like that, why Dania Beach? Why you seem overqualified in a kind of a way to be doing this stuff for the city here. Tell us why you would want Dania Beach why would you apply here when I feel like you could maybe get something even in a better position from where you are, maybe with the NFL, where the figures that you would make would be higher or so on?
For me, this is where I live. I'm a dad. My son just went to college, so I am now refocusing my
Florida State or
efforts.
University of Miami?
Actually, he's a wrestler. He got a scholarship. He's going to a school right outside of Denver.
There you go.
So he was National Merit Scholar at Coral Springs High School. He went to state. So in wrestling here in South Florida, you don't have a lot of collegiate teams, so you have to go where
Right.
where
Gotcha.
you can. So 2 summers ago, put him in the car. We flew to California. He tried out. We went to Denver and went to Tulsa.
Good for you.
And
Congratulations.
he's into his second year. Now, with all of those activities, I'm able to focus. I would rather do those things and add value locally than I can visit my kids. I have a daughter also, not to just diminish my son. She graduated with a master's in psychology. She lives in Seattle. So everybody's doing their thing. They're fine. And now it's not about always the money and working for the NFL. That was a phase and a part that that was one of my dream jobs. Now I think I can add value and stay home and be proud of, what I'm doing here, just like moving to Chicago or anywhere else.
Thank you.
Board Member Grace.
Yes, I really admonish the fact that you talked about the Blades Foundation, because I know those 2 young men, and when they started in football from another little college down the road. What was the name of that college?
Where? University of Miami?
Oh, that's it, okay. I would like to see the CRA do a partnership through a resolution in the city of Dania Beach when you bring in developers, companies, to add a community component to the new development. How do you feel about that, or have you ever been able?
That's essential. I mean, it's the whole situation of change is tough for anybody, but if you don't include and understand the needs of an area, then people are going to feel like pushing them out. This is the bigger, better part of what I've seen and experienced working from that side with an athlete. They're able to. They grew up, Benny and Brian grew up here.
Fort Lauderdale, yeah.
Yes. And their reach is enormous. Being able to partner, bring in just some of the FSU alumni and UM alumni to work and say, all of these young men grew up, played in NFL, they're back, and they wanted to do something that made sense where they grew up. That's easy. South Florida's fortunate to have a lot of athletes that this is one of your grounds where you get a lot of guys to come out, and I've done this for a long time, and some of them don't want publicity. They just go out and do it. But in that case, and working even, that's a community benefit tool, I think, to say you have a Lennar Homes that comes in and you have a foundation and they're looking to target that particular area, and these kids, this is where they grew up. Now, they would need to have that type of advocacy to and know exactly what you're talking about. These are the things that this particular community or sector needs. This is one way of making it happen, and you do that on the permit process side. When you're negotiating and you're talking, it's kind of tough after the fact.
Normally, what has happened in the past is that we have college grads, athletics, spend their monies and have their foundations in Fort Lauderdale, Miami, but they bypass the smaller cities. Dania Beach is the first city, second to none. So I would like to see programs like that implemented in the city of Dania Beach, because a lot of those people started in Dania Beach, and I can name a few that went to the NFL that was actually got their sponsorship from the Optimist Club at Frost Park in the city of Dania Beach. And as my board here sits here, we sit here with the guidelines that we want to make not only the CRA, but we want to make the city a better place than when we leave office. And that's my thought on it, is that as we upgrade and we have all of these different projects, we talk about streetscape. You talked about City Hall when you came in. It's quite quaint. I want more than quaint. I want it to be a real city hall. Maybe not in my lifetime, but one day when you walk in, it might not be like what they just did in Pembroke Pines, but I want them to know that, you know, that we definitely want some upgrades for this city hall. We have not had any grants or anything for City Hall since John Bertino went to the Florida League of Cities and got the grant for us to have this City Hall. And I'm talking decades. So what would be your take on it to try to get us some grants and some funding for us to have a city center?
Part of what you would do with this, not just the CRA, but citywide, is do the assessment. What are the immediate needs? What's out there? This is basic grant writing 101, being able to identify the needs. What type of investment can the city or will the city provide in search of that? Find the agencies and entities that are out there and put together your programs and you go get it. It's no different than landscaping or anything else. You have after-school programs, I'm sure, with some of the schools here that need assistance. When I was at the YMCA, I had the perspective of coming from City Hall to them, so I set up meetings and went to actually the schools in Coral Springs and worked on different programs and saying, we're here, we're available to help assist that key latch kid that will go home, and that propensity turns the longer you're on the street. You're able to get in, a little more trouble, and having something at the Y and being able to do something like that. One of the programs that I actually wrote and got a grant through the city of Coral Springs, soccer at that time was very big in the Coral Springs, Parkland area. So I used some of my contacts that were former soccer players, and we created a camp and actually had the kids participate, and they had demonstrations from some of the other local teams. Fundraised at the end of the evening, and that money went to the YMCA. And it actually went to the audience that it was designed to go to.
It's funny you should mention that, because you talked about the Latchkey program, and of course Mildred Jones and myself implemented the Latchkey program at Collins Elementary, and that school was built in 1956, and it's ironic that we are under enrolled, but that is in a school, and we have also the Teacher of the Year. We talk about implementing a gym or a mini YMCA or something to the effect in the city of Dania Beach. Are you able to write grants to help complement or receive funding for a vendor as that?
I've been around it. The Coral Springs branch that I was the executive director of at that time, with the economy and a lot of things going on, it was decided through our board that the Coral Springs branch would be consolidated with Parkland. And what eventually happened, the Y entered into an agreement with the city of Parkland. During that time, the Parks and Recs had issues financially in being able to maintain all of the services, so they worked on a joint venture agreement. I think it was a 3-year deal with options to evaluate and expand if need be. The JCC was also trying to get with that, but the Y got the bid with the city of Parkland, and they ran their after-school programs. They ran all of their weekend sports activities, and the city kept their budget in place and still had maintenance of the fields and communication with the residents. So, like I said, a lot of this is relationship business and being creative, and that kept everybody. Why couldn't go to Parkland and find land and build it and fund it, and the city didn't have the personnel to continue to do what they were doing, so it made sense. And unfortunately, I got the short end of the stick, and they moved to Parkland, but the Y started consolidating their facilities, because they had several at that time. I think we had 8 in Broward County, and they started using that model to make sense, save money. So in theory, you're able to go to a Boys and Girls Club, a YMCA, or an entity like that and see what happens. I would welcome an opportunity to see if that could work, but it has been done in the past.
My last question would be to you is that the city of Dania Beach has something that I'm very proud of, and it's called the Patch. It's not what we think of as being organic, but healthy eating, healthy growing. Are you familiar with projects
Yes.
like that?
Yes. In Pompano, we have the farmers market. They have the same type of programming. So yes, I'm familiar, and that's one of your CRA tools that cities now are looking to do. It enhances the community pride and finding locals to come in and do different things that are traditionally outside of the scope of what cities do. But you're bringing in vendors. They're able to transfer money. It's a tailored event, and it can grow. I did something similar to that in Pompano when we were marketing our beach CRA. Did a concept called Grillin' and Chillin'. I worked with one of the radio stations, Big 106. I went door to door and found 10 local businesses, and at that time we had on the beach Mulligan's, which they are in Lauderdale by the Sea right now on the beach. That was one of the vendors that we had. One of the local pubs, the Briny Pub in Pompano, and every first Thursday of each month, we closed the street off. We brought all the residents out. I knocked on doors and, got cussed at and all that kind of stuff. But it eventually caught on because people, we created an event that was universal for everyone. Came down, sit out. You had the backdrop of the beach. We had calypso music going. You had the city commission come out, welcome the city. And within 8 months, one of the events actually that I brought in some NFL players, Randy Moss, Henry Zach Crockett. So we had that sports theme, and it was, those businesses usually had an $8,000 Thursday night. That night it was a $25,000 night. Those were some of the things that I was asked to demonstrate to our city commission. If you invest that money, can you do those types of things to bring people? At that time, the city, our city manager was our CRA director, and at that time, and you see what happened with RMA, they kind of evolved and outsourced that, but it can work. I mean, that's something that can happen.
Just a follow-up question with hers in the Patch. You said you guys have a farmers market in Pompano?
Yes.
Okay. How is that ran? Is that ran as a community benefit, or do you guys actually have gain revenue off of that?
Initially, it was community-based. But right now, they're working on different bids to do some more things that are more creative. So
I guess I'm asking, are you putting it on as an expense for the city, understanding that you're not
yes,
going to gain
at
revenue
the
from
beginning,
it?
Yes,
They're
absolutely.
self-sufficient now?
Close.
I thought so.
So,
They're very
okay.
close. You're getting vendors outside of the city coming now. There's
Okay.
vendors from Boca and other places.
How long did it
looking-
take to get to that point?
12 to 18 months of consistent marketing and
Okay.
doing different things. It's not a quick 6-month deal. This is marketing. They created, the city does an event now the first Friday of each month. They have now 10, 15 food trucks that they allow to be in the program. They have live music from
Okay.
6 to 9, and it's packed.
Okay.
People everywhere. The local breweries, they come out and they do their things also. Some of the local businesses, German restaurants, one of the chambers involved. So everybody has their piece instead of that capital outlay coming out from just the city of Pompano Beach.
Gotcha.
So it's a partnership, and I know some of the promoters, now they're getting demo tapes for all of these bands wanting to line up to do a Friday night. They film it. They do all of those things. So 10 years ago, I did it by myself. So
Okay.
it can work.
Board Member Brandon Marty?
Yes. Mr. Jones, I would like to go back a little bit to Vice Mayor over here, Harris, when he said that no one responded to the rebuilding of the city center. And you said something interesting, one word. You should say, go back and ask, why? What are the odds of everybody not putting in a bid? And you saw this city, and you saw City Hall. What would you attribute an answer to be from at least one person?
I'll use Pompano. Pompano historically has had
you.
the reputation of being anti-business, anti-growth. And I would literally go into meetings and people said, Bernard, you did a great presentation. We think that what you're saying is great, it's exciting, but the people that you work for, it's always Pompano. It gets hemmed up in the permit process. It stalls here, and people, we had 4 or 5 years of trying to do an RFP to redevelop our mall. And there were 3 or 4 companies, one from Pittsburgh, one from New York, that came in, went through the permit process, and that money was spent and never saw the light of day.
Mr. Jones, but if they look around the city, they can see by what we're developing that we are business friendly. So let's say they're
It's-
blind and they don't. What should we do?
Tell them, bring them in, sit them down, and show them.
When you say bring them in, sit them down, who are you asking for them to sit with?
You create a FAM tour, familiarization tour. We did that with the NFL. The NFL would go to every city when they're bidding to Houston, LA, New York.
Hotels,
and-
restaurants, et
And
cetera, et
yes,
cetera.
you find you get all of the best that the city has, one in every industry. We would invite 10, 12, 15 companies, developers, have them come in and say, this is what we're looking to do. You have all of these things. What would it take for you to invest in our community? They get to meet the people. You drive them physically. We put them in buses and did a tour of all the places. I did this for the Super Bowl. We had Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach County within a week. So we spent 2 days. We partnered with all the local CVBs. We had a restaurant and a hotel already lined up. I was overseeing the merchandise. That's another issue in itself. We worked with the cruise lines, selling NFL apparel when people got on and off the boat. You wouldn't know it, you wouldn't think, so we took them literally and said, this is where they would be selling the merchandise, these people. We have local vendors that are certified that are able to help facilitate that. Will you give them an opportunity to do that?
Mr. Jones, can you bring that strength to the CRA? Because I mean what I say, and I'm a Jersey girl. Listen, I don't see that strength lying there. I see that strength lying right here. The speakers up here know how to sell that, but I don't see that strength in the leaders right now in the department that if you get the job that you have working with you, you're going to have to do an awful lot of pushing and shoving, sir. Are you ready?
I've been told no all my life for a lot of
Military,
different things.
you've got it
Military,
then.
you
Yeah, I mean,
meet
you've
objective.
got the pushing and shoving. Because I like what you're saying. I don't want people to think we're not business friendly. Certainly our mayor lets everybody know we're saying, yes, we want this. We're all in unison. And then it seems like to not get one person bid on this, there's a deaf ear somewhere, but I don't know where it's at.
In Pompano, like I said, I would have people after meetings, and they would meet me outside. They'd shake my hand and say,
There you
Mr. Jones, it was outstanding. And they said, well, I don't know why you do it. Well, it's one person at a time. If this person doesn't see, that's okay, but I want you to watch. And then I go to the next person. And then you find out another way, and you find this person. And then
Thank you,
you
sir.
back
If I could
into it. and-
interject, because I didn't hear the answer to your question, because I understand that you said that they're called Pompano and all of these things, but if you do look around, we have approved so many projects.
Yes, this is.
And this, right now, we are in a developmental boom. So I am interested also to know, not speaking about Pompano, but speaking about if you were sitting in our shoes and this RFP or RFQ came back and no one had submitted any proposals, I guess the question that she asked was, in your mind, why do you think no one submitted it, knowing that these same developers are doing more than one development? They've built more than one hotel. They've come here for more than one project, so they know that.
How many developers? 3, 4,
We have
6 at least.
we have a bunch, but to understand that they're trying to grasp on anything right now to develop in Dania Beach and to not even take a glance here, that is an issue that I don't know, in my opinion, and that's what I guess she was asking, in your opinion, why do you think?
Part of it
Feel like we're
is,
blackballed or something.
well, part of it is the communication.
From
Which
who, though?
vehicles,
That's what we want to know.
which vehicles are you using to reach people that are looking to build?
Just the CRA.
There's more to just CRA.
They sent it out. They got no answers.
That's one traditional way. I'll give you an example. One of the issues we just had in the city of Pompano Beach, you have technology through the mobile apps on the phone and being able to find out on a given notice what's going on in the city.
Right.
One of the issues they had with the hurricane, when everything went down, how do you communicate? Now, certain districts, they don't care about the app. They don't use the app. My grandmother, you would have to knock on her door, not talk to Jimmy down the street or say, well, there's a billboard out there saying this. You have to knock on the door and say, Ms. Jones, this is so-and-so, and do your business that way. For me, that's the communication, or find other ways to get your message out instead of just Facebook and Twitter, or you send an RFP. It could be something creative. This is saying you have an event and you attach the event to it that has a notable person, and they say, you know what? I drive by Dania Beach all the time and I never knew.
Never knew.
What do you see wrong with us?
It's not
mean,
a matter
that
of
if you
wrong.
were-
It's kind of tough.
Come on.
Some of the perception, you're in the middle, you have Fort Lauderdale, you have some of your big cities that are competing, and they're grabbing everything, and unless a developer or unless a business owner would see, I had a guy that, in Pompano, he wanted to be near the Turnpike because of his transportation business. So I didn't talk about the quaintness of the community. I said, we have space through Peter Sheridan that we can get you in. If you give me 2 days, let me make that meeting happen, and we'll go eat lunch. And they went in, no hoopla, no incentives, and said, right now with the square footage cost for industrial space off of the Turnpike in Pompano, which Pompano controls 80% of the industrial real estate in South Florida. They went in and did it very quietly, very unassuming. So they didn't really care about the bells and whistles. It was functionality for that particular individual. Everybody didn't see it or wouldn't see it, but that was that one business. So my take is one business at a time, one project, one opportunity. And one of my coaches used to say, a base hit is just as good as a home run. 3 hits, you're moving the runners. So every project, that means you make a step, and then another step.
We did that.
Okay, let me change the question, because I've heard a whole lot about Pompano.
Yes.
We need to hear more about Dania Beach, so I'm going to ask you, what are some of the issues that you feel Dania Beach has right now that you will be confident in addressing and changing in the next 5 years, just in Dania Beach?
The first one is the perception of the long history. This is the oldest city in Broward County.
So rebranding.
Yes,
Okay, we're working on that right now.
that's the first thing. So all of the things that you're saying, there's 30 years head start of this versus the 5. You're doing great. It's moving, but you got 30 years of what everybody's always known.
Stagnant, staying.
But it's working.
Okay.
You need to continue with the project. Secondly, excitement, not from the commission, from the people. That's who's selling it. I worked here, I lived here, this new development came in, I was a part of it, I was inclusive. This is great. This is what we needed to get a shot in the arm to make the city grow. People are skeptical at times with a commission. Being in the military, you follow your orders. These are the things that you do. These are the best practices. It's not who's delivering the message.
Okay.
At the end of the day, did you get this accomplished? My dad is Barnard, did you finish your homework? Well, let me tell you a story, Dad. Yes, sir, or no, sir. Have your plan, run it, measure it. If it does not work, try to find out why and have a plan B and C.
So these are issues, correct, that you
Yes,
see? Okay.
absolutely.
All right.
You're going to have with growth change. People don't like change. Communities and segments of your community are going to feel like, what about me? Where do I fit? Need an answer. It's not, well, we did everything good.
Okay.
For a target or audience that is in a community and historically you're looking at all the numbers. Household income, education. If they're not educated, you got to find programs to train them to get ready for some of the businesses coming to give them a chance to participate.
Okay.
If you don't have that, then you're going to do this.
We're fighting people that don't want change, it sounds like.
Well, we
That's
are.
human nature, though.
Yeah.
It's going to happen with or without, and part of what you want to try, you strive to do is to be proactive and kind of bring people along. Be transparent, work on the program. It's tough. It's not just this community. They have the same in both. This is development. This is change everywhere. So it's not just a Dania Beach problem.
Until they see it and it actually works. And
Yes.
then they come aboard.
And it's one project at a time. You can have a lot of stuff going on, but one sector of a community, until that happens,
You're right.
it catches fire then. Now you're able to do this. Now people kind of trust because they see the movement instead of, I can do this. Okay, show me.
Board Member Salvino?
Thank you. You look like a take-charge person. How do you feel about working with the Community Development Director and the City Manager? Mayor brought that up earlier. I just want to know.
You need that. I welcome that. That's essential. It's not a one-man show. You need a team and people like-minded to get things done, and I don't mind being dirty. The suit, I wear this because I must, but
It's just a question because a lot of times when you get a forceful feel of a person that knows how to address us and has the answers that, that you're given answers to questions that we haven't even asked yet, and I realize that you've got the experience behind that, and I can see that. All the things that she started with over here and they brought up, talking about just, the don't like change and a few of the other things you brought up is exactly the problem that we're going through right now. And with that statement being said, that presents, some issues possibly with the community development department because they may not want the same change in the same direction you're going into, and the city manager may not have it in his budget to make the change that you're going into. So all those things come into play. So I just want to make sure that everybody can play nice. That's all.
that's part of why I can say what I say, because I've learned and been a part of some of those things. Some of them worked, some of them didn't, and I got beaten up, but I'm looking at Pompano now. I wrote that program and did that concept paper in 2000. Just because the person that delivered it, it wasn't fashionable for the commission at that time or vision, but right now through RMA and some of the implementation strategies, it works because that's how you do some of those things. And I'm proud of my work and what I've done, and it's the challenge would be doing some of the same types of things here. I think it can work. It's going to take a lot of work and get hit. You stand up, keep going, get hit, and hopefully at the end of the day, you've accomplished what you said you wanted to do.
Board Member Brandon Marty.
Mr. Jones, if you got this job and you saw your team, if you felt like you had dead wood on it, would you hesitate to get rid of that dead wood? And replace it with someone who sees the vision that the city's going after?
For me, that's...
Yes, and that includes, like, I know you're talking about RMA and all that, but if you thought that RMA was holding back what you feel is a better decision, would you be vocal?
There would be a comment to be made because the objective is the city and what the goal is that. It's not me personally, it's not an entity. I would be hired to perform a certain duty. It's not personal, it's not friends. I think I'm a very social person, but I've learned through growing up in a military family. My dad used to have lieutenant colonels come to the house all the time. He would tell me, sit down, be quiet, and give them the pizza roll. At the end of the night, cleaning up with my parents, my dad would say, "What do you think about Lieutenant Colonel Thomas?" I looked at him, I'm 8, 10, 12. He talks a lot. My dad would smile, he'd pat me on the head, and you keep going. That meant to me, you don't have to get along with everybody that you do stuff with, but you still have a job to get done. And at the end of the day, if that's part of what has happened, then...
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm assuming, I'm looking at your resume, and I'm assuming it's $500 a month salary is a typo for 5,000. However, you have 2 companies that you say it asks,
Yes.
may we contact your employer, and it says no. Why?
Because at this point, this was just an opportunity. You're welcome to it when you move forward.
But you
right
have
now-
yes for some and no. I didn't know if it was a reason you clicked yes for some and
Part
no
of
for
the,
others.
when you do online and stuff, sometimes this one said, you said 500, I make a little more, 500.
I'm gonna assume that's a big
So-
pay cut from 5,800. So it's just because.
I'm managing partner for the companies that I own. I just did not want to disrupt what business is. I've talked to my partners about there's an opportunity and everybody is good with it. This would be the job that I would pursue and be part of.
Well, what about the one that you haven't been a part of since 2008? It still said we couldn't contact them as well.
Which,
The North Broad Family YMCA Family Center.
oh, well, like I said, some of the stuff, I'm no longer affiliated with them. So if you would like to call that, you can. The president is still there. That's the Y and the Y.
Okay. Board Member Grace?
Yes. Everything is very impressive, but the question that the chair just made, you are co-owners with a company?
Yes.
Will you be able to devote?
I would release my responsibilities with those companies to make this the full-time opportunity. That's why the no for that. If this was an opportunity that presented itself, I would, if you need that in writing, I would devote my time to doing this. This would be a very good opportunity, and
My philosophy is basically the same as yours. I was not elected to gain friends probably got a lot of enemies that I didn't expect to, but that happens. But my philosophy was to do a job for the residents of Dania Beach who elected me to this position. And that's what we would hold the CRA director accountable for, to move the city of Dania Beach forward.
Yes.
And the development and the projects that, not only the ones that we have on board, but future projects in the future, also with you being enticed to write grants to bring in other revenues for Dania Beach. Can you do that?
Yes.
Board Member Brandon Marty?
Yeah. Mr. Jones, if you would, I see you said that you're co-owner of companies.
Yes, I have two.
Could you please tell me their names?
Exposure Sports Management Group and CSJ Partners.
What is CHJ Partners?
I work as a maritime and aircraft risk management group. My business partners are former Navy pilots, and one worked on cruise ships.
And what do you do in the capacity of that job?
I
Because that
help.
sounds like the most important one.
I'd help them with economic development. Part of what we do in our area, targeted area, was in the Caribbean. So we've been contracted through Nassau in working with their airport and seaport to make sure that the element of risk is reduced, or you're seeing any changes. From the tourism side, you have, when you get off of the ships, businesses, shops, and part of my role would be to help them enhance their activities economic development-wise.
Mr. Jones, how much of your time is taken up with this risk management company?
At this point, that's my livelihood. But I've-
It's your livelihood now.
yes,
Okay, thank you.
moving forward, I'm prepared to make the city of Dania Beach my primary breadwinner.
Even though it's less money?
Yes. This is a good opportunity. I've done this, and this is a challenge. It's not just, you want to make money, you want to do those things, but I think I have something to bring to the table to help.
Yeah, because I caught it when you said, I make more money now.
Yes.
I understand totally. Thank you.
Do you have any questions for us?
No, other than to thank you for the opportunity to speak, and I hope that we can continue the conversation.
Thank you. Thank you, I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
thank you. You're a good guy.
Board Member?
Yep, you know, I think the predicament that we're in, everybody's looking for a job, and everybody has a job already. And these jobs are they're either, you know, I understand part of what he had to say more than the person with the real estate company. I think the real estate company might have been a little different, but I think that, you know, if his application asked for $80,000 a year, which comes out to roughly about 4,000, no, about 8,000 a month, right? $7,500 a month, and or 7,000 a month, and so 7,000 a month is more than the 5,800 he's currently making. I think the thing is that you know, there's always going to be a chance, no matter who we look at, and if they have another business, or if they're working somewhere else, or if they have their finger into a real estate thing, they're always going to have to be. There's always going to be that situation. You know, the young lady obviously doesn't have her hands into that stuff, but these other guys do. But then also you look at the knowledge factors. I don't know how, you know, hate to start with somebody and not finish, but, you know, just look at the differences in what they can bring to each other. I mean, we can all decide on that at home, but I don't know if we want to, I mean, I would hire somebody knowing that they have, and I have hired other people that have a business going on at home, you know, that they do something, on, you know, through the internet or whatever. Hopefully it doesn't harm my time, but as long as they produce for me at work, I'm good to go, just say.
Well, he has, I got you. He has, my issue was that he had two Like, so he has the $5,800 a month, and then he has the, I'm assuming, $5,000 a month, because it's definitely not $500 a month. You see how he said that? He's a managing partner. So it just really doesn't make sense to me to have two. I mean, and his business is his business. You know, his business is his business, but to walk away from two managing partners, it really didn't make sense to me. And I was just personally a little turned off. Every question that we asked, he went back to Pompano.
Yeah.
It was never what I'm going to do for Dania Beach, how I can make Dania Beach better, and why I'm choosing Dania Beach. It was, oh, well, that's just like Pompano, and then went into a story about how Pompano was. He's very, very well connected. I was very, you know, obviously impressed about, it seems like he has access to a lot of people who have a lot of funds, but I need to go more into the policies of economically and how it's going to make sense for all the other things that we're going to do. Board
Mayor,
Member.
listen, there's a big difference between being an owner and a worker. Okay, in a business, there's a big difference. You're the owner, I'm the worker. I'm going to stay on the job, but you, the owner, are going to leave for a lesser paying job. I don't buy that, number one. I really don't. Too much on, and the thing on sports, help fill the hotels. Let me tell you something, the Super Bowl fills the hotels that don't need anybody's help, even in the city of Dania Beach. Why? Because the prices for the hotels in Miami are off the charts. So of course they're going to look for Dania Beach. So that doesn't influence my opinion of this. What influenced it, and I'm so glad we got to the end, was when a person says they own a business, in my heart, they never break the ties. They never break the ties. There's a lot to getting out of a business. You probably own stock in it. You can't be loyal to two gods. You just can't have two bosses.
How about if it's not doing well in business?
Board
Doesn't
Member,
matter.
Board
Owner
Member Grace.
versus worker. Less money, I don't leave the job. I mean, as an owner. Her as a worker, oh, hell no, I'm going to go work at the place. They pay $1 more an hour. Don't buy it.
I certainly thank all of the applicants for their time and their energy.
We're done?
As coming
It's
to
only three,
us.
baby.
And I just want you to know that I really truly believe that after listening to all three of the candidates, that I was most impressed with Mrs. Williams.
Me too.
I truly was.
Second.
And I don't know, it's just like, it was just like, she reminded me of what I would do if I was the CRA director, or the leadership capabilities that I think that she would be able to bring to the table. I think that the two gentlemen they're set. I think they're set in their own businesses, I really do. And I wish them all well, and of course, this board will be the ones that make the ultimate decision. And I think we might have, or we want to discuss whether we're going to interview number 4. I do have some take on that, too.
Can we have the take on that before we leave? Because I
Okay,
want to
my
see
take
what.
on that is if you knew that the interviews were going to be today, and even though you had something outside of the box, you would have made it your priority to try to be here if you really wanted to have an interview for this job. That's my take.
Okay, I'll go down the line for the take on that.
I agree with
Board Member,
100%.
Board Member Brenda Marty?
All right, but I got to say one thing.
Okay.
On that lady, don't even remember her name, she works with grants. What are you constantly asking, Mayor, about grants? And I
Raquel.
agree with you. Believes in working with a city manager, and no other CRA person ever did that. That you could personally go to him and ask him. Not once, okay? Agrees to explore a city TIF. That was a great thing on her. Feels graffiti is a problem with art on city buildings. Now, let me tell you something. a lot of people love this artwork on city buildings, but somebody's going to come along, buy that old junk and tear it down anyway. So you've already put a lot of money into putting somebody's face on a building when tomorrow that building hopefully is going to be sold for something more in your generation, Mayor, something more lively. Because I'm thinking these people are really thinking we're too old. The city's too old. I mean, I know I am, but that the city's too old. They're not looking at us through your eyes. And I want them to look at this city through the eyes of the mayor and Bill. Really, I really do. I don't want them to look at our city when they come here and wonder whether they should do something here based on me, 80 years old. Don't do that. You better go with the younger group because that's where tomorrow's going. And I don't want the city to go backwards. We already know the city, but we don't have to look it. And I hate that idea about art faces on building. I think it's disgusting. I don't want to go into a city and see anybody's face on any building. I'd probably be the first one to go put paint on it.
Oh, gosh.
Do I really feel that way?
Vice Chair, how do you feel about
That's a Jersey
Mr.
in me, Mayor. Forgive it, all right?
No, you're good. Bradley Muckle.
Probably 80.
Well, I know, like for us up here, we can't always make every meeting. You know, we have other obligations, and he probably already has a job that he's committed to. Maybe his employer doesn't know he's looking for another job, so. But because we selected him in our initial response, I think we owe it to him to at least give him the benefit of an interview. That's just my
Oh,
opinion.
well, my answer was on that, no. Were you taking the thing on that?
Yeah, I would, yeah.
No, I don't want an interview.
Oh, well, that's 3. So I guess we're not going to interview the
Well,
fourth.
I mean, I don't feel that way. I don't think, I'm not telling you that I wouldn't go along with.
No, I'm saying, it's just your personal opinion.
Yeah,
No
I mean,
hard feelings either way.
If you guys want to do it, I'm okay
It's
with it.
it's everyone's. I was personally, I'm kind of conflicted on it as well. It was sort of, for me, if I'm applying for this job and how important this job really is to the city
Right.
and to this board, I would do everything in my, and who's to say he has not? However, it kind of already puts a bad taste in the mouths of people who are interviewing you, knowing that we're already asking you to make us a priority, and you failed to do that in your first instance. And I also understand that he might not be a business owner. This might be his only livelihood, and you never know if he could miss another absence or whatever his thing. So I'm kind of torn. So if I had to be the tiebreaker, I would have been, but.
Can I ask a question on that? She had mentioned it on the commission night. Can't we give him maybe a 20-minute, and come in 6:30 instead, I mean, 5:30? What do we have?
I'm not coming in
I'm
early
coming in
before the
early for
CRA
3
meeting. I
meetings.
have
CRA
the,
meeting at 6 o'clock, right?
it's at 6 o'clock, but I do work a full-time other job, and I am a mom, so
Can we
I have
not
to,
include it in the CRA meeting time?
no, we already can't do our CRA meeting in time. I mean,
No. And
Yeah.
Mayor, you're right.
And I have
After all, the
another meeting
meeting
prior
he's
to
busy
that
for is a
earlier.
training session.
so,
Plus, you know, he doesn't live here, he lives in Winter Park, so
where is that?
over by Naples.
If I can just offer one thing, I absolutely understand what you're saying about prioritizing. As a recruiter for the city, I deal with this often where I am surprised when I get cancellations or a candidate is late and things like that.
When
I
did you
totally
get the
understand.
cancellation?
It wasn't a cancellation. It was actually several days ago. He requested if he could, I think it was toward the end of last week. The issue that he indicated that he had is that he's in an ongoing training program, and this is one of the final sessions, and it's employer paid. So his current employer has paid for this training program. So for him to not go is problematic. So to offer a viewpoint, you might also see value in that he didn't want to take advantage of his current employer by basically wasting their money, not going to a training so that he could go interview for another position, just another viewpoint. But I also understand, you want to prioritize the position that you're looking toward too, but I just wanted to, make that clear that is why. It was because it was employer paid.
But maybe that training that he's going to today could benefit us.
Good.
Hey, listen, I'll go either way you guys want to go. I'm fine.
Okay.
The only other thing I wanted to let you all know about, just because it came up in the last interview, is regarding our applicant tracking system, which is NeoGov, or governmentjobs.com. It's an applicant tracking system that's used by almost all governmental agencies in Florida and many throughout the country. Oftentimes what happens is a candidate creates a profile, so they've added positions, and then maybe a year later they go to apply for a job and they're using that same profile. So that's why sometimes you'll see something where they'll say, no, you can't contact this employer. It's because they didn't go back and change that answer to that question. That happens quite frequently with this program. So I just wanted to make you all aware of that feature.
Can I ask you a question about hiring process? I was told, I can't remember where, because I would have said it, that when people are submitting an application, that they are not required to put whether or not they've been arrested.
We have a question. So I think what you're referring to is there's many entities that are going to a Ban the Box program.
Yes, that's what I'm
right.
talking
We are not currently Ban the Box.
Someone told me we were.
We are not. We have a question that asks if you've been convicted of a crime or had adjudication withheld, and they're required to answer that question. We cannot discriminate based on that question, but it is a question that we ask and that they're required to answer. And then, of course, we uncover if there's anything that was left out during the background check.
Okay. Any other comments or
I
questions? Or
think we need to take some type of action as to whether or not we're going to Bradley, and my answer is
Okay, can we have a motion or a second or?
I'll second it.
What's your motion, Board Member Grace? She's second.
My motion is to deny the request of having him come before us on October the 9th or the 10th.
Period, or just those 2 dates?
Period.
Okay,
And I'll second that.
all right, discussion? Yes, discussion?
I'll just.
Okay. Call the roll, please.
Board Member Brandmart,
No,
No, as in what?
I mean,
The motion is to deny the interview.
oh, yes.
Board Member Grace,
Yes.
Board Member Salvino,
No.
Vice Chairman Harris,
No.
Mayor James.
Yes.
Okay, motion carried.
Okay, well, if nothing else from anyone?
That was
Anyone,
interesting.
staff? Meeting, okay, my question is, what happens next?
The scoring sheet.
Yeah, that sheet, I didn't.
Well, now that you've elected not to interview the next candidate, the only thing left to do is if you'd like to make a selection out of these 3 candidates, you can do your ranking, and we can move from there. That's a question.
She said, we can do it now. I mean,
Can they do it now?
Oh.
So you
Might as
could
well
do
do
that now, unless you want to
do we write
explore
something down, or do we
other.
tell you?
I make a
looking-
motion we can try to do it now.
Might
I
as
mean, they
well.
just rank them, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you rank them and it's there in the minutes, so.
Okay, she has to, well, no, not those papers. Are you gonna take a rank, or you want me to? No, I don't want to write it down. You can write it down. And numbers of first, second, and third? So we'll start with Board Member Savino.
Okay, you want me to tell you who I think is first?
Yes, first, and then second, and then third. We're gonna knock this out.
I tell you who's third.
Okay, tell us who's third. Turn your microphone on, please.
It is on.
You could say
Oh.
9, too.
It's on.
I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place on this first and second. Third would have been Hendrick Van Lesten. Okay?
He's what?
That's the gentleman that had this business here. Okay?
Okay.
I like the girl because she's fresh and new. I like the guy because he's got a lot of experience. I know it's not gonna work in your favor, but Jesus.
It's okay. It's just it's your opinion.
Yeah, I know. I'm looking, and I don't mind discussing this, because I don't mind anybody giving me a little input on this as well, because, I've made mistakes hiring before at my store, and I made thinking somebody's not going to work out, and they've been there for 30 years, and so you just don't know how that person's going to react. he, like you said, the guy, he had all the answers. I think a lot of things came easy to him, a lot of contacts, but that the girl looked like she was hungry to build. It gives her a challenge, and I think that I wish he had some of the knowledge that he had because she's went the challenge. All right, I'm gonna rank her one and him two.
Okay. I was going to say, we could just put it on a piece of paper and pass it on over, because I don't want any of our conversations to sway
I
anyone.
love to talk,
Okay.
sometimes.
Board Member Grace?
Williams is number 1, Jones is number 2, and Van Leeden is number 3.
Board Member Brandon Marty?
Williams is number 1, and the others are no and a no.
I didn't even know that was an option. You need a 2 and a 3.
I don't have to
Oh.
vote for 3, I certainly don't. Thank you.
Oh, I didn't
You
know
didn't know
that.
that?
It surely
I
didn't.
did.
It's like the SAT, you don't.
No, good. I didn't know it until a week ago, but it's no and no. I only like 1 so far.
Okay. Vice Chair?
I would say Raquel is number 1, Barnard Jones is number 2, and then Hendrick is number 3.
Well, I'm going to only have 2 votes then. Raquel Williams, thank you, is number 1, and then Barnard Jones would be number 2.
Well, Raquel got 5 as your number
It's
1 pick,
unanimous.
so,
She has a lot of pressure.
Do we need to make that a motion now?
Can we make it a motion?
yes.
Okay, well, let's finalize it.
Make
Do we have a
That
motion?
we pick Raquel Williams.
Oh, hold on.
Right.
So are we okay to make the motion?
Right.
Okay.
I made the motion.
Second.
I guess we can do it all in flavor. Okay, call the roll, please.
Board Member Brandemar?
Yes.
Board Member Grace?
Yes.
Board Member Salvino?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Harris?
Yes.
Chairman James?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right.
Let's get to work.
Now I anticipate what we'll do is we'll negotiate an agreement with her.
Yeah, but you do that.
Yeah,
right?
that would be
Not me.
Kristen and
Kristen.
Kathleen will sit in with it. We'll come up with recommendations, and you, of course, you have the final say, and we'll give you bullet points of what the salary is, et cetera, that kind of thing.
Good work, you all. Meeting adjourned.
Okay. Raquel Williams. Copy. Raquel Williams. Is this it? Raquel Williams. Yeah.
My middle grandson is here from Honduras.
Oh, that's the one that came in.